Well, this is a bit different, isn't it? Let's give it a try. Hello and a very warm welcome to Marketed Light, a week's worth of marketing education delivered online from here to you. Now just so you know, it's definitely not an online conference. I don't think we're really going to be able to create the ambience, the concrete brutalism of Nottingham contemporary and the general levels of love expressed from the stage, the queue for coffee and the pub next door. But sadly, we're also unable to replicate the gorgeous food prepared by our venue. You know, I did try and learn how to make gluten-free pain au chocolat, but frankly, I've had enough problems learning how to deal with click and collect at the supermarket, let alone how to cook buttery French delicacies. I promise though, we'll make up for it next year. When we decided to postpone Marketed Live, we wanted to make sure that our mission of helping people close the gap in their knowledge and improve the results they get from marketing didn't get lost between events. And so this week is all about learning. Now, I don't want you to see the sessions we're releasing this week as talks. I'm a bit reluctant to call them webinars because, honestly, there's a lot of those at the moment and often their purpose is just to sell you something. Instead, take each session as an opportunity to learn from some of the most brilliant people around who are willing to share their knowledge with you, so you can implement an idea, a strategy, or even just make you think about something more deeply. Gathering together these sessions has been a moment of light in a dark situation. I hope you've been able to navigate what has been a truly awful time with courage, safety, and love. Now, while I don't want to overly dwell on the pandemic, I think it's fair to say that it's changed our society and inevitably it's changed the way most of us see or use marketing. Some of us will have had life-changing experiences that affect the vista of our lives. It could be that you have had kids around for months while they attempt to learn at home. Maybe you, yourself, a friend or a family member has been struck down by the disease. Perhaps you've reconnected with your neighbours and local community. Clearly, many of us have changed where we work and how we work. This year's annual Marketed Live survey focuses on how the coronavirus crisis has affected marketing and where we go from here. It's taken the word viral to a whole different field. As usual, respondents were asked a series of questions, some choices, some open responses. And once again, the results offer an insight into the mind of marketers. Having seen them, I can tell you, they actually give us hope for the future. People gave us their insights from across the globe, which is appropriate given the impact COVID-19 has had on the entire world. But there are differences in how marketers have been affected by the pandemic and what it means for how they operate. I know not all marketers work in an office like this one, but there is an image of fancy pants agencies in their exposed brick industrial converted factories, sipping on their flat whites while they ideate. I kind of feel like I've fallen for it myself. This is our office. In spring, the rug was pulled from underneath us as we were instructed to stay at home. Overnight, millions of people could no longer perform their work from their office. No water cooler chat, no gossip, no quick answering of questions or just checking an idea, or even getting confirmation that the idea of your brand creating a Tinder lookalike app to identify who has the nicest fingers really was a crap one. We're now in autumn. The research was done last month. Just under half of the respondents to our survey are working somewhere other than their previous or normal place of work. Of those whose usual place of work is the office, only 10% of respondents said they'll definitely go back, with most saying they just don't know. 38% of people feel they'll never go back and the rest just aren't yet ready to decide. There's a reluctance to go back to the office. Why is that? Is it that people are apprehensive about the virus? I'm sure that's true for some. Or is it that we can just do things as well without being next to each other? In our community of respondents, the impact of COVID-19 has been variable. Around 30% of people in the research now want to take the opportunity to redress their work-life balance, and over 40% said that the crisis had made them cherish what they have more. I wonder how that particular feeling will play out in the campaigns that they now create. Although we've been more productive, the world of marketing is not all about numbers. At least it shouldn't be. How do people collaborate today? How do they share ideas with one another? How do teams become even more creative when physical presence isn't always possible? Indeed, does this even matter? A considerable number of the marketing community either don't work in a team or work with a virtual team anyway. Does the rest of our industry need to look at the freelancers and independent business owners to understand how to do this better? Quite possibly. Whatever your current situation, the world of marketing has not stopped, nor it seems has it slowed down. Indeed, if anything, marketing has sped up. Brands have had to make decisions quickly. Should we still market? What should we say? How should we say it? What channels are working right now, and how is this different to before? If I know one thing about marketing, it's that change never stops. We should be best placed to adapt. Look at how we adapt to changes in the tools we use and the tone of voice we amend when global events require it. In recent months, we can see this in action in the style of TV commercials that are on our screens. Remember that time when you filmed a video on your smartphone and your client or boss laughed in your face at the shaky camera work, poor audio, and your child randomly entering the shot? Welcome to commercials in 2020.
It's a strange time at the moment, isn't it?
We can't do many of the
things that we're used to.
But we want to reassure you.
Even if you can't get to a Barclays,
you can still use Barclays.
With our app and online banking,
you can manage your money like normal.
From making payments
to paying in checks.
And please check our website before calling. We're updating it daily with helpful information.
Stay safe.
We're working
To make money work for you.
Remember the time your friends took the piss out of your Facebook Live series? Standard practice. Many of you are actually ahead of the game. Remember that when you're next pitching a campaign idea. I'm glad to see this levelling out of approach. It feels more democratic, that perhaps smaller groups, businesses and individuals can get a shot instead of business being sucked up by the super agencies. We asked you which brands had impressed you with their campaigns over the last few months. Here are a few. COVID has changed everything. Not quite everything. I was very surprised to see how many people were working in a way that they consider normal. All I kept hearing was the amount of job losses in marketing, how marketing was one of the first functions to be shut down as businesses panicked about what to do, what to say, if in fact they said anything at all. Yet 82% of our respondents said they were working as usual. 34% said their business revenue had grown or marketing spend had increased over the last 6 months. Only 14% said that it had decreased. So where is the bad news from marketing coming from? Clearly it's not you. It's perhaps testament to the Marketed Live community that our members have been able so far to weather this storm. We asked people whether their marketing objectives had changed recently. Some have kept the same objectives and maybe changed the service or the delivery. Others say they've had to throw their strategy out of the window and move to survival mode. Many have embraced digital more. Some have had a complete change of direction. When we asked whether the pandemic has caused them to change the way they market, the general feeling seems to be that marketers have changed objectives to reflect how audiences are now feeling and to be more proactive in their engagement with customers. This time is chaotic. Its pace is swift. The pressure to keep up with what's going on is immense. Just look at the amount of current affairs that's affected what we do. Getting something wrong can either be a tiny misstep or a complete brand buster, and it's not always clear which way that's going. Audiences are super sensitive, and that can mean marketing becomes too safe, too vanilla. People can become so risk averse that they stop being creative. You'll see from Joe's session a great example of how similar some of the marketing of this period has become. We must fight that urge to be safe with as much vigour as we can muster when we're already just simply exhausted. I recently asked a very simple question on LinkedIn and Twitter. What one single word would you use today to describe 2020? You cannot use unprecedented. The responses were extremely profesh on LinkedIn. On Twitter, not so much. But we know that already. What I found interesting was, as well as words like shit show, bollocks, and batshit crazy, there were words of positivity like opportunity, rebalancing, and gin. Well, you might need some of that over the next few months still. The word I pick out is adapt. Let's face it, although we saw the virus creep around the world, most of us were unprepared for the severity of change that landed our way. And yet, here we are, at least 6 months on, learning about marketing so we can continue to do it. Why are we doing this? Because marketing is, fortunately, still a thing. Those who've been able to grow during this time will tell you that the reason they're growing is because they've been able to adapt, and adapt quickly. Where we've seen the loss of contracts, the loss of jobs, it's a reflection of business not being able to adapt. Now, I would argue that marketers are some of the most adaptable people around. Think about it, how often does marketing change? All the damn time, that's how often. But we managed to adapt. We're used to doing it, and we're going to need to get even better at it. You know I love a good book. Recently I came across this one, Norman Doidge's The Brain That Changes Itself. It contains a series of real-life stories of people who have overcome adversity and retrained their brain. From strokes to paralysis, Doidge shows how the human brain adapts to use parts of it that are underutilised through injury. Through human and, it has to be said, some animal research, they've proven that the brain is capable of regeneration. Neurons find different ways to reconnect to one another, creating a new path to travel along. And they call it neuroplasticity, flexible, adaptive, renewing. This is where our efforts need to be. We need to have marketing plasticity, the ability to be flexible and adaptive in our creative ideas, in our content and in our messaging, to match the rapid changes in delivery and audience perception that we're seeing in this moment. How can we develop marketing plasticity? Well, firstly, it means more listening to audiences and their mood. We need to pay more attention than we've ever done before. We've seen with the murder of George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement how progress in thinking can be made within a very short amount of time. Whereas brands could previously take the easy route with a few platitudes, today they're being called out for not doing enough or not being able to prove that they mean what they say. And it's not just big brands either, it's smaller businesses and individuals too. Talking loosely just isn't good enough. Paying attention to what's going on, understanding your target audience and how they feel about issues are your number one priority. Marketing plasticity is also about reacting quickly. You need to be able to have a faster turnaround from concept to content. Again, think back to how quickly TV commercials have changed. It felt very wrong to show images of people too close together. It actually risks alienating those who are concerned and promotes the wrong community behaviour. The BBC replaced all its idents, which had the central tenet of people in groups, to composite shots of cups of tea or trees blowing in the wind. And KFC recently dropped their infamous finger-licking good slogan because, well, licking anything isn't the best right now. As our society continues to evolve in a way that is unpredictable, as marketers we need to revisit our campaigns, amend them, maybe change them completely. but we need to do that at speed. Similarly, new ideas are important and we need to be able to implement them quickly before they become outdated. That may mean forsaking high budget production for speed and flexibility. Lo-fi is acceptable when you're working at pace, and we've seen that audiences don't mind. Finally, marketing plasticity means being flexible with the channels that are used to deliver campaigns and specific messaging. When there's a high turnover of campaigns, a 6-month billboard and print campaign may not be possible. Digital platforms become more effective at creating something and getting it out fast to target audiences that are using devices to consume content more than ever. What marketing plasticity requires, though, above everything else, is that creativity to connect with the world at a time when people are craving connection. As marketers, we have an important part to play, not just in convincing people to buy stuff and keep the economy moving, but also to inspire, to have fun, to laugh, and to remember. We have that capability for marketing plasticity. You have that capability for marketing plasticity. So let's use this moment, which hopefully will never be repeated, to reconnect our marketing neurons and build the most creative, current, flexible campaigns that inspire audiences to take action and deliver the results that we still need our businesses and our clients to gain. I can't wait to see the ideas, the campaigns, the outcomes from you, our wonderful Marketed Live community.